Yeah, it's like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. So, you know, on Christmas morning when you're opening up your gifts and you get to one and you open it and you're super surprised because you forgot that you even asked for it, asked Santa for it specifically. Well, that kind of happened to me today. I was sitting, minding my own business, and I get a knock at the door, and it was a mail call. And it was one I'd completely forgotten about because it'd kind of been a minute. But, oh, yeah, I had a bloody nose. Sorry, pardon the interruption. Anyways, you get a present for Christmas and you can't believe it. It's a surprise. I got a knock on the door, got a mail call, got a box. It is right here. It's right here. And I completely forgot that it came. I was like 6. We're gonna open this up. But first, we gotta come over here to this fallen comrade. Finished him last night. You know, pretty underrated. Bye. Hey, buddy. Nice. Ooh, let's see what we got. We got straight bourbon whiskey, 5 years old, 111.34 proof. So this is 1 year older. Straight bourbon whiskey. And this is their straight rye. Super pumped to try that. We got 5-year straight bourbon whiskey, 6-year straight bourbon whiskey, 4 proof points higher, and then an 11-year straight rye at 126.6 proof. Whew. Can't wait to try them. So the first time I ever heard of Nashville Barrel Company, I was at a liquor store. I was just sitting, looking at the whiskeys as I do in a liquor store, doing some bourbon hunting. And the guy that works there came up and he pointed to 2 bottles. One was Doc Swinson and the other was Nashville Barrel Company. He said, these are gonna be really big. I don't know if he's Nostradamus or what, but he's right. They're a super popular brand now. People like them. They're making amazing stuff. An 11-year rye. I can't wait to try that. That's super exciting. We're just gonna do a quick nip rip to get the palate sort of warmed up. I haven't had alcohol today. It's 3:24 in the afternoon. This is so this was a special barrel we had gotten as a gift. And as something you could buy. I don't know if there's any left, but it's from Hudson Whiskey. It's a 6-year rye. We made this movie called Fire, Water, and Grain, which you can watch here on this channel for free. And it's all about Empire Rye, which is the style in New York. And I've very few of these bottles left, but and I've given a lot away for people to try. And it is so good. It's 46%, so just starting off, you know, warming that palate up. Go watch that movie. It's awesome. And Hudson Whiskey, if you haven't had them, like, seriously, give them some consideration. Okay, but today is not about Hudson Whiskey or our film. Today is about a little mail call I got. I got some Nashville Barrel Company. I've never had their whiskey. I've seen it. I've been aware of it for a couple years now, and I just never got around to trying it. But I reached out to them, and they agreed to send me a little sample pack, which I'm super pumped about. I've always wanted to try their stuff. I honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth, I thought they made like Tennessee whiskey. I didn't know that they even had a bourbon, and let alone a rye. But of course they do. And a 5-year bourbon at that, a 6-year bourbon, and then 11-year rye, which is, I don't know if I've even had an 11-year rye. That's crazy. So let's do a little nip rip. This is 111 proof, 111.34, aged 5 years bourbon from Nashville Barrel Company. God, that's... Let me preface something about tasting notes in my tasting notes. I'm not here to sort of give you the same old stereotypical classic notes of anything. I might from time to time, but in general, you know, I'm more of a, do I like this? Do I not like it? Because different notes come to different people, and different people like different things. And, you know, I never want to disparage a company or, you know, put a company way up, a brand way up, and you dislike it. Because you really got to come into each whiskey experience with your own, you know, perspective. So, although I do love, you know, the lists and people's preferences, and it's fun when a lot of people like one whiskey. That's fun. All is that to say is that I'm not great at giving notes, but I really am liking this. Yeah, it's pretty oaky in my opinion, which is cool because it's a barrel. You know, it's called Nashville Barrel Company, so it should have some oak in it. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Really good. So this next one is just a year older. These are both single barrels. These are all single barrels. All the Nashville Barrel Company whiskeys we will be tasting. 6 years, 115.2 proof, straight bourbon whiskey as well. Let's hear this crack. Hey, a little pint, a little baby bottle, a little baby boy nip rip. Mike, you know what I'm talking about. Whoa. There's some like floral stuff happening. You can taste what another year did to this bourbon. I don't know if it's the same barrel or not, but oh, that's really good. Well, and 4 proof points higher, which sometimes can mean more flavor. Those are really good. I'm excited to share those with some people and get their perspective. All right, next up and finally, we got our Nashville Straight Rye. Cool. I'm super excited to learn more about these guys and try this 11-year Straight Rye. Let's nose it. I didn't even realize it. I didn't even nose these guys. I'm not even tasting properly. I'm just doing nip rips. Honestly, I can barely smell right now because I just had a bloody nose. That's why at the beginning of this video I had that thing. But I've never been a good smeller. I don't think I have a good smeller. Watch, this just gives me another bloody nose. Yeah, I mean, yep. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's delicious. Yeah, that is damn tasty. That's a tasty little pint. Tasty little baby boy whiskey. Yeah. You taste the proof, but it sort of goes with that rye spice people talk about. And this is so, for instance, this is all New York grain. It's 95% rye, I believe. Rye grain. So like it's super heavy on the rye, and the terroir in New York is very specific. And so it's like minty and herbal and grassy. And this is what the notes have of like when I hear people talk about a Kentucky rye. It has its own little spin on it for sure. And taste it in a little nip rip. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. Wow. This is what I'm talking about right here. Nashville Barrel Company, straight rye, single barrel, 11 years old, 126.6 proof, barrel, 624. Okay, so that's I guess they say different things on them. That says this says age proof and sample, and that says age alcohol proof and barrel, and then this is age proof and sample. So I'm just gonna go back to one, just give them another kind of gloss over now that my palate's a little warmed up. And I'm smelling again. So just the 5-year one more time. Nip rip. That's good. It's got some of these. What is that? I don't know. I'm terrible at notes. I hate to say it tastes bready, a little bit of that, because it's not. That's not it. This is, yeah, no, this is great. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't have words. They're all good whiskeys, which is a weight off my back because they sent samples, and now I'm, no pressure. But my favorite by far of these is their rye. Nashville Barrel Company's rye is fucking so good. Let me taste this one more time. It's a little lunch bourbon. God, that's fantastic. When you just get overwhelmed and you make a little weird sound. Okay, and then, a little baby nipper. I just need to kill this bottle, huh? It's just sad. It's just sad to see it go. Oh, this is just so different too. Yeah, they don't. I don't know if it would be something to go like. I don't know. I don't want to put anything in your head, but it feels like if you drink these in the same sitting, it'd be very strange because this is like sweeter. And oh, that's really interesting. Something just happened. Obviously, you drink in a certain pattern and it affects the flavors, but that brought out different notes in this whiskey than it does when you drink it alone, which is really interesting. I really taste that. Hudson has this like very specific flavor profile, and it's accentuated in this rye in particular. 6 years. Yeah, let me tell you this story, actually. This is an awesome story. So, if you haven't heard it, when we started making this documentary called Fire, Water, and Grain, I didn't like rye whiskey at all. At all. Okay? So, we started shooting it, though, because it was a documentary we could make right in our backyard. Backyard meaning the state of New York, because that's where all the distillers were. So we could just drive to them. They were, we did some driving. We went all the way upstate to Rochester. We went to the Hudson Valley, which is where our studio is based out of. We went to New York City. We talked to all these different places. And but our first main distillery visit was with Hudson Whiskey. And we get there and we're filming, and I'm just like talking to who was the site lead at the time, Brendan, and I was like, honestly, I don't really like rye whiskey. And he was like, okay, I got you. Don't worry about it. And then we go out and he takes us to these barrels. And he knew he had these 3 specific barrels. And he pulled from the first one, just one of those little fucking Dippin' Dog, whatever you call them. And he poured some out for all of us. And then we tried it. And I was like, oh, shit. And I had this aha moment of like, I've been having rye through this really narrow lens, and I wasn't drinking it to. I was putting it in a corner, I don't know the saying. I was letting it be this like inside this little bubble, and like this is what rye is. And that day I found out rye could be so many different things, and it was like so herbal and grassy and sweet and almost like minty. And then the next barrel, he pulled a little bit from there and let us taste that. And it was like a whole nother thing. It still had some of these like flavor profiles that I connect with Hudson, but it had this like really floral, like perfume almost kind of on the nose and in the flavor. And then Brendan's like the coolest dude. He then mixed the two, because I was like, what would those go like together? Is that like what blending is, And I feel stupid now, but our beautiful ignorance has gotten Ryan and I into like to learn some really cool information and gotten a lot of cool experiences from that. So I don't feel bad asking dumb questions. And then he just blended them right there. I think it was 50-50. And then it created this whole new whiskey. And that's where I was like, that was the moment I realized, oh shit, this is the tip of the iceberg, all these things that you learn. Because when you learn about whiskey, you feel like, after like a year, you're like, I know everything. And then after a year and a half, you're like, I know nothing. And, maybe that was 2 years into it, and into our whiskey journey, into my whiskey journey, that I was like, oh my God. And now I can't even, there's so many different whiskeys, it's hard to keep up, but it was really an exciting moment and transformation of like, okay, let's find out what's out there. And then that whole film ended up being like this exploration of that. And I got to taste so many different rye whiskeys just in New York, and regionally how they taste all different. And yet they still sort of abide by the same set of rules. Yeah, and so from that moment, I was like, okay, maybe I like rye. And then I was like, what else can I like? Can I like single malt? Can I like Scotch? Because those are things I didn't like. And that's all coming back to like this world of whiskey is like, if you ever feel like you don't know, or you feel like, you know, someone calls you a tater, or you read something and you feel like, oh, maybe I'm this tater in this moment. It's just like, well, the word has a couple meanings, but it just, you know, it's not, you should never feel insecure about whiskey. It should be something fun. It should be an exploration. And you should be really open-minded. I do believe those things. It should be fun. It should be an exploration, and you should be open-minded, because the discovery, the personal discovery you can have along the way is so exciting, and is so... what's the word? It's so exciting, and it delivers you these joyous moments, and don't let other people stop you from experiencing that, and at your own pace. If you want to drink whatever you want to drink at the pace you want to drink it, and buy stuff, you might pay a little more at the time, you know, because it's your first time buying it. You're going to make these mistakes. An app I use to not overpay is called Booze App. We're not sponsored. Booze App, go ahead and sponsor us. That'd be sick. But I use Booze App, and you can scan the bottle there, or you can just type in the name of the bottle, and it sort of like aggregates all these people, what they find it for, what the average MSRP is, and then like what a fair price would be, and then what the shelf price might be. And then you can take those numbers and compare it to what you're seeing at the store, so you don't get, you know, scammed out of a couple $100 for a bottle of Blanton's. I say Blanton's. I've said it forever. I've said Blanton's. I don't say the N. You know, call it how you will, but I don't. I say it's my Michigan accent, I guess. But definitely use that app if you're like ever, you know, if you're just getting into whiskey and you're like, what am I overpaying? Because I've definitely overpaid. I paid $125 for a bottle of Blanton's back in 2019. No, it was 2019, because it was, it's 2018 maybe. Yeah, I overpaid for that. I've also gotten bottles for super cheap now, that if I try to find them now, they'd be like insane. Like just some E.H. Taylor stuff I just randomly grabbed, didn't even know. And then later on, I'd be like, man, if I could only find that bottle again. For instance, like a 1792 12-year, I'm never going to find that again for a good price. Maybe one day, maybe when this bubble bursts. I feel like I'm just rambling. You know, sometimes we'll get a couple views on these, and this long form, we're really, these longer review videos, we are invested in doing them and making them really cool, and bringing, you know, some tasting, first-hand tasting, and some pricing information, and every piece of knowledge we pick up, we're going to try to share it with you guys, so we can all kind of learn together. And you know, the only taters around here are French fries, because I love them taters, and I'll eat those all day, dip in a little cheese. Okay, that's enough. One other thing I wanted to say about taters was, I was reading this conversation about taters, and it ends up being funny, because it's really the jerks and the bungholes, if you will, that are mean to other people about, oh, you overpaid, or you're an idiot. It's those guys, and maybe some of the guys that go, you know, I read a story that was like some guy heard about Traveler whiskey and then went and bought 12 bottles without ever actually trying it. I think what people are saying is someone who's kind of a gullible person, maybe doing it for the collecting sake fully. Like, collecting is such a big part of it, but the Like, collecting is a fun part of whiskey. But when you're fully doing it for that and you're not actually drinking it, it's sort of like, you know, when you just collect and you don't drink, it's like you're just taking away from all the people that really, really do enjoy it. Like, this is meant to be had. You gotta open these bottles, man. As soon as I turned 30, I was like, man, I'm fucking dying one day. And, you know, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. And as we say on our whiskey podcast and a lot of our whiskey stuff, to drink is to live. And what that means to me is that it doesn't mean drinking whiskey means to live. It doesn't mean drinking alcohol or drinking whiskey is to live. It really means to me like savoring moments is so important. And the way we're consuming these alcohols is we're really appreciating them. And something my dad said on a call last night was like, this moment from Wonka is the secret, spoiler alert, the secret to chocolate is yada, yada, yada. But he felt the same way about whiskey. The secret in whiskey isn't the ingredients itself, it's who you share them with. You know, it's who you share them with. So that's super true. And on this channel, that's our main focus and goal, is to bring that vibe to whiskey. We also, heads up, we're bringing you a new show in the next couple months where Ryan and I will be traveling in the United States. We're gonna start in the heartland. We're gonna start in that bluegrass region, that middle America, for this show. I don't want to give too much away, but it is coming, and we're gonna shoot it, and it's gonna be such a fun experience. Yeah, man, we're gonna drink good whiskey. We're gonna meet interesting people, and we're gonna tell great stories. And just remember, to drink is to live. All right, we'll see you on the next video, guys. Cheers. Little nip rip for the road.